Okay, I am Shanka McGlory. I am the owner of Mocha Books, and we are here with
Valrie Kemp Davis.
you. And you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. My name is Val Kemp Davis. People affectionately call me Val. And I am a children's book author. I have written two children's books, Jamaican Me Say Me ABCs. That was my first book. And the second one was Rainbow Cuddlings. And I have co-authored a book, Triumph Over Grief. I consider myself a cultural curator. I advocate cultural tolerance, inclusion, and cultural diversity. And it is my goal to help children celebrate themselves, see themselves in all their beauty and all their ranges of color and culture, and to celebrate them in a world right now where we don't have a lot of cohesiveness. You can see the great divide. I think that is very important for children to understand where they fit in the scheme of things, where they have that self-love, that self-expression, and know that despite the loud noises that they hear in the backdrops of their lives, that they're important, that they bring value to the universe. And I feel that it's my job to make sure that the upcoming generations are better, gentler, kinder people,
Mhm.
and that they buy into the notion of cultural diversity, self love, and self expression, and to operate within the golden rule.
Yes, I love that. And what would you say would be the golden rule?
Simply do unto others as you would have them to do unto you.
That is my favorite. I say that to my children all the time.
Yes,
It is
that's
definitely yes.
Yes, that's it also in my book, Rainbow Cuddlings,
Hmm.
where the parent or the surrogate or whoever the educator is can talk to children about what is the golden rule, how can you exhibit that? What are you doing when you don't exhibit that? What does that look like and how does it make others feel?
Hmm.
So definitely I believe in that. And I think if we live by that premise, that precept, then we would be kinder to each other overall, adults and children. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, that hasn't happened for a long time, and as far as the overall overarching setting in terms of humanity,
Hmm.
and that's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, it's the world is definitely upside down right now.
It
But
is.
when I think about that, I don't think we've had a lot of changes, but it doesn't seem like we've had a lot of changes, if that makes sense. Like there has
Yeah, it's,
been things to come, but it hasn't made any difference really.
well, I think it's a root problem. It's a systemic problem,
Mm,
and even though there have been some forward thinking people moving forward agendas that are positive, if you have some things that are deeply rooted, um, that makes it a systemic problem. And until you unroot some things at its very essence and core, then
yes.
you'll see some things chopped away, but it keeps resurfacing and
Hmm.
resurfacing. So a lot of people thought that when President Obama here in America got elected, we have we have arrived. And
Hmm.
this is demonstrative of how we've arrived. But what we found out that the roots of the issues were still there, and they start resurfacing even while he was in office, even though he got elected the second term. And then by the time he had exited office, those who had that MAGA
Hmm.
agenda were ready to move forward again because it wasn't uprooted. It was just kind of chopped at the surface, and it seemed like everything was lovely or coming up lovely, when in fact we have some really deep uh, seated issues that unless we pull them, and overturning statues are not going to get it.
Yeah. Yes. I'm glad someone
Okay.
else said it.
Um,
It's
taking down the
no real work.
yeah, taking down the Confederate flag, it won't get it. Yes, I understand why we want all those things down, because to see those things are very painful, and it looks like we're celebrating that. But you can remove all of that, just like how when you weed white weeds. But if you don't get that stuff to the core, where you pluck it out to the core, It's
Mhm.
perennial. It's
Mhm.
definitely coming back because it never went anywhere. It's just
Right.
below the surface. It's just like a bamboo. It takes so many years for you to see evidence of the growth, but it's definitely growing whether it's under the soil or what. But when it comes up, it's exponential in
Mhm.
terms of its growth. So, and it's like hard to stop. That's the same thing with love, the systems of love, the same thing with the systems of racism, the same things that you will continue to see in the 60s, you will see in the 21st century and beyond.
Mhm.
But I do agree that there is a difference in what you saw in terms of the protesting of the 60s as uh, how you see it
Now.
manifest now.
Mhm.
Definitely. Um, Allies are not playing out here in these streets. They're coming. It's sort of like I think it was I think it was with Wakanda, you can't get to him unless you come through us.
Mhm.
That type of mindset, you can't get to them unless you come through us type of mindset is
Yeah.
what we're seeing now. Um, but that makes it even more critical. And I see that people are amping it up. Everybody's on their agenda. Whatever your agenda is, positive or negative, people are coming forth with it in strong,
Mhm. They're
strong,
very bold
strong,
about it. Yeah.
potent, powerful means. And that can be very scary. So, what do we tell our children? Because they're watching us. And, I'm actually working on some projects right now that I hope to have released in 2021, hopefully by the end of the year, but I can't guarantee, but definitely by the beginning of 2021. Hopped on Pops and The Lost Oyster. And one deals with death and loss and how do we recover. And it, it, it could be applicable from the pandemic to the the racial divide and
Mhm.
people dying in the streets and how do you survive that because it's I guess you could say like an allegory, and it's you're looking at the life of a oyster and all the things that affect her and losing her family portions of it and how does she heal. And
Mhm.
then the same with the little girl that has a mother that's a essential worker that and I don't want to give too much away, but
Mhm.
they kind of converge in the Bahamas and what happens to little Missy and little Mama. Um, and then the other one is Hopped on Pops, and it's sort of like a parody of Hop on Pops for Dr. Zeus. I
Mhm.
love to write in tight rhyme scheme.
Mhm.
Really a master at it. And I love Dr. Zeus since I was a kid. I loved him since I was a kid. And so what I did was do like a polarity of his books where it's no narration, continual narration. It's like little scenes that help you with word recognition, but
Mhm.
also it gives you like from scene to scene different things to look at. And so I'm hopping from scene to scene in terms of what's going on in our nation right now. And it's like
Oh.
black man in a tree, black men in a tree, black men in a tree. How can that be? You know what I'm saying? Hop and don't hop on Pops.
Mm.
Who is Pops? He's George Floyd. That's Gianna.
Oh, that's
Don't hop on Pops. That's Diamond's little girl, Philando Castile, future stepdaughter. Don't hop on Pops, the little boy who lost his father when he was waiting to pick him up at the bus stop. So I can't wait to get that done. And, I have these lofty dreams, but you know how it goes time, money, networking. Because
definitely.
eventually, yeah, I eventually would love to see these two pieces in particular turned into animation.
Mhm.
Uh, I really, really would.
I
So,
would definitely like to see the hop on pop.
yeah,
Definitely see that. Yeah. Oh,
hopped
popped. Hopped on pop.
on pops.
Oh, gotcha.
You
Popped
couldn't
as
get it?
in bad?
Yeah, hopped on Pops.
Gotcha.
Hopped
That,
on Pops.
that's gonna be interesting. Yeah. Especially
It took a lot out of
yeah.
me to try to keep the word count, to try to have these scenes with the words that he was using,
Hmm.
like still, and it's like I'm dealing with teal and
Emmett.
on yes,
Oh,
and
oh, we
on
need.
the
Yeah, we need this. What do we need
yes,
to do?
and on the field he kneeled. That's Kaepernick. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It took a lot to get it right, but it's right. You know when you right, so you know when it's done and it's right. You like, oh, that's it. It's like
Yeah.
a riddle, and it was a really hard riddle to solve, to keep it close to the spirit of how Dr. Seuss speaks,
Hmm.
and I really want to do that. But it's on point. So right now I'm just trying to move forward with it, and like I said, I am hoping that I can have it done by the end of the year, but that might not happen. But definitely early 21, it will be out.
Hmm. All right. All right.
Yeah.
What actually started your journey as an author?
Well, I guess um, I began writing when I was 17.
Hmm.
I've always loved books. I am the daughter. My mom is deceased. She died in 17. But if you go to our home in Tampa, she has a serious library.
Oh, cool.
And I was reading books that were probably not age appropriate, but I was reading them when I
I
was
think a
little,
lot of
like
us do
James.
that.
Girl, yes. But I was reading James Baldwin and
Yes.
Iceberg Jim and Maya Angelou and Steven Spielberg and everything else. Um, and as a result, I feel like I put a lot in my belly um, in terms of how we see ourselves and how other people see us.
Hmm.
And so I had a love affair with words and writing because my mom, being an English teacher, and then just the love of reading because I would read all the time. And I had my own personal library that she had for me. And then she had all these 78 records with the Disney stories. So everything that did back in the day. And so all that, I would say all of that is like a culmination of how I was put together. But I also love law. So I chose a path where I've worked in corrections
Hmm.
forever since 1985. Um, but I've never lost the love for writing. So I would say my first poem was inspired by being in love my freshman year. And then I just kept writing. So I was on that circuit. That's how I met my kid's father, who I married through a Juneteenth celebration. And
Ah.
I Yes, and I was performing spoken word, girl, in reference to the City of Angels. That's what the piece was called, and it was a reference to Rodney King being beaten brutally, and that's how we met. And so,
That's a dope way to meet. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's pretty dope.
girl, listen, and let me tell you something. So my kids did this sign. We just had Juneteenth, and my kids did this huge banner, and we dressed up and everything. And this is so ironic. Um, because they're filmmakers. Both my kids are filmmakers, and the irony of it is that their dad was behind the camera that night when I met him. He was filming me, and
Mhm,
so we go like 360 degrees. Their dad and I are divorced, but we're still very good friends. But
mhm.
they did this real big banner, and they said, "My parents met through Juneteenth and protest to Rodney King's beating." So Getty's Images saw us, and we were in Getty. Yes. And we were in local. Yes. It's so crazy.
Yes.
Yes. And we were with that big old sign and us dressed up like that. And we were also in multiple publications here in Chicago. But I say all that to say this. When I had my first baby from the love of my life at that time, it was real important for me to keep some traditions going, which was the love of words.
Mhm.
So when I found out I was pregnant, I just made up this due date, and I started getting all these books, which included Dr. Seuss books.
Mhm.
But as I was doing this stuff, I was like, wait, I want something richer for my kids, for that age group, because I was reading real heavy stuff when
Mhm.
I was little, but I wanted to see stuff that spoke to us as children, like the other people had.
Mhm.
So that prompted me to start writing for my babies. And I would just write these stories and I read them to them and my husband at the time, and I read them to their friends, and I was just throwing them in the drawer. And I would write and throw them in the drawer. And then I started feeling like, I would really like to have a voice in the literary world where my books are read
Mhm.
and seen by others and not just for my kids. And then with me working in corrections, I felt like it had to have a universal voice beyond my kids,
Mhm.
beyond the middle class life that they live, for the children that I saw out in the streets, for whose dad was on parole, our mom was incarcerated.
Mhm.
Um, what do we say to those kids? So, um, and I was always the officer that just had that compassion when we had to go lock somebody up, when we do our raids and stuff. It
Mhm.
was the children that I would like be over there talking to or working with, because I could see the fear in their eyes. Like, Dad, you just got home. You got to get out of here. And, that presence of us geared up, suited, and booted up. And so, all these things, I said a lot, but all these things make me who I am. All these things go into why I write what I write. And I can't wait to, more things can come, because I've been writing for years, um, down to Big Mama Goose Ghetto Rhymes, which is a hot mess. It is. And when I write, because I majored in English too. My mom was an English teacher, but I made in communication and English and minor in psych. And then I went to grad school, worked on my master's in criminal justice. But I was always very good in symbolism. My professor said I was really good with symbolism. So that being said, I like a good writer. I like someone who can use symbolisms. And I also like to write so that when you're dead and somebody studies your work, they can unravel it. It can cause serious literary dialogue. What were they saying? What was the historical setting? What was happening socially?
Mhm.
All these things come into factor when you write well. And so when I write, I always write with those backdrops in mind,
Mhm.
as if one day I will be studied in university.
Oh, you will.
that
You will.
that's my goal.
Yes.
I want my words to outlive me. Way
Yes.
I want it to be like my temple of familiar,
Mhm.
um, that people can weigh in when they don't know what I look like, other than a small pick in the back of the book, and don't any know anything about my personality. They know me. I am so thrilled that this 21st century millennial and Gen Z generation have fell in love with James Baldwin.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
that is my dude. That's been my dude
Yes.
since I was a little girl.
Yes.
Girl, I love the fact that my children are into him, that my daughter has a friend that she went to college with. His name is James Baldwin. His parents named him after that. He's a writer too.
Yes.
Yes, girl. And I love the fact that it's a new generation that
Mhm.
has fell in love with this man, because the things that he's saying is timeless. Unfortunately, it's timeless in reference to race and
Mhm.
issue. But like, to me, when he was going in on William Buckley at Cambridge, classic, classic. I'm like, y'all got to watch this. And it's like, um, I think in 2018 or something like that, they had something came out. I think it's on Prime, about James Baldwin, and they kind of juxtapose it against the backdrop of what's happening here and now. Um,
Oh, really?
yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but it's really, oh, Don't Call Me Negro. My name is not Negro, or something like that. Or Don't Call Me Negro. My name is
Oh,
not.
I am not your Negro.
I am not your Negro. That's it.
Mhm,
And so it's like a whole generation, because of that, a whole another generation
mhm,
are they're looking at him. And I think they should look at him forever. You know, um, he of course they know Dr. Maya Angelou
mhm,
and her work and so forth, but uh he was right there with her.
mhm.
He was right. He's like one of
All
him
of
and
it.
her,
Nina
they yeah,
Simone.
girl,
Yes,
yeah, that's like
yes,
the modern Harlem Renaissance Fort
yes.
Greene type of crew. You know what I'm saying? That got in there and was doing that work. Um so I just feel like it's a choice of weapon, like Gordon Parks said. You
Mhm,
know, he used his pen and he used his lens
mhm,
in order to fight. So for me, I take my fight to the computer keys or the pen. I want to give you a visual of what you look like, or how you could look in the positive, or what you look like in the negative, or to invite you to grow, or to invite someone to have compassion for you, because I've always heard that the best writer can humanize the villain,
mhm. I would agree with that.
and and also see the devil in the angel.
Mhm,
So I need us to come like here. If we can do this, we might could understand each other, to try to make some changes. I think that that's why we're getting the allies now,
mhm.
that see this thing in a very personal and a passionate way. And then you see some of the old heads that are out here in the streets that are carrying signs like, I can't believe I'm 66. I can't believe you seen that. I think it was a lady said, I'm 66 years old and I can't still believe I'm doing this as because
Right.
so that means that where we might have thought we were alone, we wasn't alone. And but now folks know that you can't in your white privilege be silent, and nor can you be silent in your black privilege either. I want to
Mhm,
talk about that because
mhm.
many of us have that black privilege, and we're trying to keep that black privilege or that tokenism, and then we
Right.
don't say nothing. We don't want to ride the boat. We want because we want to be
They don't want it
like the
taken away.
Highlander girl. Yeah,
Mhm,
like it can only be one. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the Highlander. It was a show called The Highlander, and the
mhm.
Highlander was like it could only be one. So you're gathering up all the superheroes' powers every time one dies off, and that was the slogan. It could only be one.
Hmm.
And that's not cool. That you think that it could only be one. We have to be collectively strong together, and we can't be so frustrated that we give up. Um,
Mhm.
I know we have um, had our Rosewoods and we had our Tulsa, Oklahoma, and our Black Wall Street, and we did what we were supposed to do, and we still got tore down.
Mhm.
But you have to get back up. You have to go forth. You have to figure out another way in order to not only survive but to thrive and to win. And so um, I'm just a firm believer that what don't kill you make you stronger. And yes, many have been slain in the process, but collectively we will win. I believe that.
Mhm.
I have to believe that so I don't go crazy. I,
Right. We're
you know,
definitely stronger together.
we are, we are, we are.
What would you say has been the most challenging, either personally or through your writing journey? What has been most challenging?
Um, t- I would say there are several different types of challenges. Well, it comes in waves and increments. So when I write, that can be a challenge just to push out what I have in me,
Mhm.
and to do it where it has some meaning and merit, and it compels somebody to want to dive in and live through what I'm putting together vicariously. So that's a challenge. And then when you get that done, it's a challenge to make sure that it's illustrated right. And it's a challenge to make sure that um, you are presenting your product out there and marketing it properly and getting exposure and um, it's all kind of personal and professional challenges when it comes to this because I am an independently published author.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest, I was trying to break into the big houses. And they said, no, you can't come in here because you have unsolicited manuscripts and you don't have an agent. And I didn't believe that I needed an agent. And then when I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, let me try to play this game, agents were saying, well, if you're not published, then we can't be your agent. It was like the
It was
dog
ping
chasing the
pong.
tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a dog chasing the tail. But what I found out that just keep doing what you're doing because in due season, something will open for you. So really, I think that this is the best way now as independent publishers because we get to keep more of the lion's share of the money.
Mm-hmm.
We can print on demand, where back in the day it was like more expensive to print books because just how the nature of it was. People are buying online, and so that works for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And the way things are, your audience is global. So my books are everywhere from Europe to Africa, Malaysia, um, Hong Kong,
Oh.
Singapore. Yeah, it's everywhere. And so it takes work. It's much work as it goes to writing the book is the research on how to get your book different places. Um, and so I say that that's a challenge, and I'm still learning. And it's networking. It's networking, and doing your best every time you put your foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was referred to you all by shout out to Yolanda T. Marshall out of Canada, and she found me and interviewed me. But she's a writer too because of the types of books that I have out there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a Caribbean type person, and her literature is such, and she saw my Jamaican Descending ABCs. So even if you have a niche, there's someone who can pull you along in your niche type of writing. And just getting out here, working locally with other authors in my community and abroad, and then just helping somebody else. It's an amazing journey. So to me, yes, writing the books was the beginning, and that was a journey in of itself. But once you publish a book, now what? So you have something, then what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole journey on what do you do, where do you go, who do you meet, how do you help them, how do they help you, what is your end game? Um, that's been a challenge, but it's been very amazing for me. Um, when I wrote in 2017, my mom died. My mom was on her way out when I was on tour in Jamaica for a month. I was on TV and radio stations and promoting my book, and I did my book launch in Jamaica. And there was a day that it seemed like she was not going to make it,
Mm-hmm.
but she did make it, and she gave me about 2.5 more weeks before she left. But when the book that I co-authored, Triumph Over Grief, was, I would say, a very hard challenge for me to write because it was about me and
Mm-hmm.
it was about loss and trying to function and in the midst of loss. So I think that as an author, we do our job and we do our work, but then our work becomes something other than work.
Mm-hmm.
It takes on a life and a breath of its own, and it kind of gets your hand and takes you where it wants you to go.
Most
Like,
definitely.
you be like,
Most
okay, because I'm like, look at my day. Like, okay, I would have never met you had I not been on this journey, right?
mm-hmm.
Never. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure about that, you know? And I'm thinking, how cool is this? How amazing is this? How amazing it is that you do what you do, you know, and then you give us a platform to promote our books. And so the journey kind of leads you where it takes you. I mean, it took me to Jamaica the following year um, to just work with the National Library of Jamaica and Grace Kennedy and go around. And I met an author who did her books based on with Nosy Kids. Shout out to Nakisha Henry, who lives in the UK, who's an educator there, my friend. But she was like, when she saw my book published, somebody said, you need to see this, because she had been talking about doing this for the longest. Then she got in contact with me and she was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it because I've been wanting to do it. She has surpassed me with the amount of books. And we met up from coming from London from America and met up, and we did this whole program. But that's how big the world is. It's a world without walls. No matter if Trump
Mm-hmm.
wants to make walls, it's a world without walls. So we met physically the first time working together in Jamaica to do a Phoebe culture program for different ages. And we were in the TV and radio and stuff like that. But check this out. We met up because of the writing. We collaborated because of the work, and the work will take you places beyond the cover, the prologue, the preface and the prologue. It
Mm-hmm.
just will. And so just keeping up with the pace of how this thing is processing itself and unfolding has been a challenge. But
Oh,
I
I'm with you. I'm with you.
it is. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm coming. I'm coming.
I definitely agree with that. Every day I'm like, do I really want to do this? Like today?
But if you was
It's,
to, if you, I know, because you know, today I was like, well, we're having problems, and I don't know. And I was like, but I said, press in,
yes.
and I'm so glad we pressed in even today,
Yeah.
because we were having challenges and we kept pressing, and this is amazing. I just feel privileged, um, and purposeful to be able to do what I feel like I've been created to do,
Mm-hmm.
especially for such a time as this, and that I get to work with others, because they say if you want to go fast, you walk alone, but if you want to go far, you walk with others. And I feel like we're walking together and we're going to go far. All of us are. So um, I'm just looking forward to turning on some of my friends to this, so that they too can know about Mocha Books out of Tulsa,
Aw, thank you.
Oklahoma. Yes, and um, it's just exciting. I think I was in, what was it, Oklahoma City last year,
Oh,
October. Yeah, and I think I was in Tulsa. My daughter and her, she has a production company. Her and some of her colleagues. It's called Black Stacy Production, and they were in a what do you call it? Film festival. They placed in a film festival,
mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure it was in Tulsa. So that was the first time I had ever been to Oklahoma. We stayed in a timeshare in Oklahoma City, but it was beautiful. We went to see a honeybee farm,
Oh, really?
and we ate. Yes,
It's in Oklahoma City?
I think it's outside of Oklahoma City,
I
but
got to
it's
get on the
owned by
road.
yeah, it's really, and it's owned by a nurse. Her and her husband own it, and it was amazing. We ate real honey, and we have some of the most amazing pictures. My daughter loves to do all these kind of weird things. I taught them to have experiences and to do things outside the norm, but they take it way past what I ever taught them. And so she was like, "We're going to a honeybee farm." And I'm like, "Okay," but it was so amazing. And Oklahoma is so beautiful. It's a beautiful
Mhm.
place. Matter of fact, one of her girlfriends, Raven, um, is from your area, Oklahoma.
Oh,
Um, Raven Simone, and she's from Oklahoma. So Black Stacey Production, I'm gonna shout them out. You will hear about them because they're on the move, they're grinding,
I
and
know
so
that's right.
yeah. So I'm excited because it seems like this mantle is being passed on because my children are storytellers as well, but
Mhm,
their means of telling stories is through music and through the lens. And
mhm.
so, but I feel like it's a legacy. Storytelling is a legacy, and it's an art form. Um,
Definitely.
Last summer, I um, did a creative writing class for this non-for-profit called Jasmine Project through my church. And it was based on the premise of one of our members who lost her daughter through suicide. And so um, the powers that be were like, we don't want any other kids to go through this. Let's have some things where they have life skills, programming, and we'll put together some things so that they can have some ways to express their pain and anger and so on and so forth. So I taught creative writing, and I was calling my children the jellies. And I would say, the jelly, we'll say, the jelly McGlory, because that means you're a storyteller. And
Mhm.
it comes from our background. It's a part of our legacy, a part of our history. And they were oral in tradition. They were not writing it down. They were oral in tradition. And so I feel like, who was it that passed last year? I can't think of her name right now, but she said, if you, Toni Morrison, she said, if you don't see a story
Oh,
that's
yeah,
there,
write it. Hmm.
you write it.
That's right.
And that's the premise of what got me started. I didn't see my daughter's story. I
Mhm.
didn't see the story of the Jamaican kid. So I wrote it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to write those things that I don't see, or to improve on some of those things that I do see, or to explore some of those things that need to be explored in the most creative way that I have, with the voice that I have, for the time that I have,
Mhm.
with the craft that I have, the skill set that I have. And I feel like it's a privilege. I'm just so honored to be able to do this. And I try to honor it by doing it well,
That's
to
one
bring my
reason
A
why I love working with self-published authors and publishers, because um, the market is very versatile,
game.
and it's easier to publish your work in your words and what you want to say than to, go to these big publishers who are going to tell you, no, change this, no, we need to do this. And
If they even take you,
right,
if
right.
because a lot of times they're not taking us. They're
Hmm.
not taking us, and that was part of why we had a hole in that market, um, where yes, you did see some people get in, but for the most part, it was a hole there where our stories for our children were not being told in the ways that they needed to be told, or the material that needed to be said, because they just didn't feel like, you know that was something that they wanted to pick up the mantle and run with.
Hmm.
So for me, I resisted it for a while because I was like, I don't know. But I found I found that really is the way to go. That is the blessing of it all,
Hmm.
and that you can do so much with this. And so it's is as persistent, and uh, I guess it's as hard as you work.
Right.
It's how you get it.
Hmm.
If you put a little in, you get a little out. If you really pursuing a lot and you working on it, and I mean you have to work on it the other end. This is part of it. This is what I'm doing with you. This is the business end of it.
Hmm.
This is the advertisement. This is the marketing end. Um, and that's the business end of it. That a lot of times we don't want to do that because we feel like we wrote the story. That took a
Right.
lot out of us. What do you mean we gotta do all this other stuff? You do. And it's not going to
Yeah.
be nothing to nobody as much as you. It's your personal business. Books are business.
I just
They're a
talked about
business.
this with someone else recently about how this is my third year as a bookstore owner and this resource and this platform. And it took me a very, very long time for me to put my face out there. For the
Mhm.
longest, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna write this and I'll do a little review here and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. But people like to relate. They like for you to
They
be
do.
personal. And once I started putting my face out there, people were like, "Oh, there you are," and "Hi," and "How can we work
Yeah.
together?" and blah blah blah. But for the most part, I was like, I didn't want anybody to know I had a website. I didn't want
Mhm.
anybody to connect me to anything. I was like, okay, I just want to be in the background. I just want to get my work out there, but you can't do it that way. You have to
Mhm.
work and you have to give it 100%. Can't give it
You
some.
do. You do. And you have to build your brand.
Mm-hmm,
And so I remember when I was being coached, and that's another thing, you have to invest in yourself. So
mm-hmm,
I was being coached, and that was the question. Well, do you want to brand yourself or do you want to brand your product? And I said, I want to brand both. I want to be like Oprah. She brands herself and her product. You know what I'm saying? I want them to know who Valrie Kemp Davis is,
yes.
but I also want them to know what her work is about. So for me, I am the brand ambassador for Caritas Collection. That is the name of my imprint and my tagline. I have two:
Mhm.
Caritas Collection. Collectively, we carry this. Caritas Collection, and it's based on the last name of my ex-husband's grandmother, who really pulled that family together when they were going through divorce. And I love her name. It's a very odd name. It's a British name, but it comes out of Jamaica. And so I actually named this company after her, because if it wasn't for her, it might have not been my kids, because she stepped in. And that's the thing. I advocate mothers, and I
Mhm.
advocate grandmothers, and I advocate matriarchs and patriarchs who step in when families are in crisis, because that's how we have survived.
Mm.
We've had surrogate aunties and all that,
Yes.
mama's friends that when mama died or whoever took over, godmothers, and so on and so forth. So that's how I made my company. Collectively, we carry this. But I also realized that I wanted to branch out so that I could write in two ways. So I also decided it was also embracing culture, enriching lives. So depending on what I'm writing, you'll see the tagline may be different on this book than that book, but it'll have the overall, yeah, it'll have the overall icon. So for instance, you might see right here,
Mm-hmm.
that one is embracing cultures, enriching lives. But then if you look on this one right here on the inside, you might see this is Jamaican Descendant ABCs. Collectively we carry this. So, but like I said, you have to really be strategic and purposeful in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of thought, and a lot of research. It takes us a lot of research to write your books and your stories, and it takes a lot of research, just like any other business, to see how can you do your feasibility study. Who is your market? How do you target your market?
Mm-hmm.
um, what do you do to draw people to your company? And it's what you put in. You can have some people say, I just want one mom and pop store. I want two stores, and I'm good with that. And some people say, I want a franchise. It's
Mm-hmm.
just what you want. And it's,
Right.
to me, it's nothing wrong with either way. What you do is just what you want and how far you want to go with it. But I want to go far with mine. And I feel like I have to work a little bit harder. So because I'm, my age, and I did a whole career, and that was what I wanted to do. I didn't want a nickel and dime, and I didn't want to struggle like that. And I had a passion for law, and so I have no regrets. I did what I wanted to do. It gave me a lot of um, material to tap into. But now that season is coming to a close, this is a new season for me that actually kicked off in 17 as far as publication, but I had been writing for a long time. And so I know that once things progress, I have lots of materials that I don't have to say, okay, what's next? What do I write next? What's what? It's there. It's just a matter of getting the right illustrators and doing all the other things that you do to get something to go forward. But I
Everything
just have
has to
a
line
passion.
up.
Yeah, I have a passion for children. I really do. I've had a lot of kids in my home um, that have stayed with me. I don't know how this happened, but they stayed with me because they were going through stuff in their own homes. And so for me, to hear their stories up personal and close, to deal with even some of my kids' friends, now that they're college age or in a young adult, they still need mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
They need midwiving to bring them forth as they labor to come forth into their own person. And so um, the way I write is, yes, it's for the younger crew, but if you read my stuff, it's something that can help adults, young adults too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I remember having to read some of them books for my kids, and I'm thinking, oh my God, again. So I never wanted to write books that it'd be like that book again. And it has, you know what I'm saying? And it has nothing to do for me. It has nothing that can make me see anything or feel anything or whatever. It's just I'm going through the motion because this is what you like. I wanted it to be something that would um, strike a nerve in the adult, the child and the adult.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, I don't know. We just have to see what's next. But like I said, hopefully by the early 2021, in the first few months, hopped on Pops and the Lost Oyster will be the two, and we'll see what goes on from there. I got a lot of stuff, but I really want to get those out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the climate of what's going on, I feel like they have a lot of relevance for now.
Right. So are you just, is it the illustrator that you're looking for to move forward?
I am looking for. I have an illustrator for the
Mm-hmm.
Lost Oyster, and she is probably about 75% finished. However, I am ticky picky, and so I wanted more, more, more. I'm like that beast that needs to be fed more, more, more. Like Lord have mercy. So it's like, uh, as we were on that juncture, the pandemic hit, and I was thinking, wow, I had a revelation one day. This book is not complete. You thought it was complete, and this is why it took so long because I'm a very spiritual person, and I was like, I was just really, I really, 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 really wanted it out last year. And I realized it wasn't supposed to be out last year because what you didn't know was a pandemic was coming and
Mm-hmm.
it needs to speak to that too. So for that one, I need to change some things in terms of the ending,
Mm-hmm.
flip it up a little bit so that it can deal with the pandemic. And so that's almost finished as far as illustration. And the other book, it needs the illustrator. I'm looking at a possible illustrator through one of my friends who has some children's books, but like I said, I have to see whether or not it's going to be a good fit,
Mm-hmm.
and um and then we'll go from that, because even though I give an illustrator the freedom to do a lot of stuff, once they do certain things, I can I can put the fine touches on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's certain things that are in my mind that I know definitely I want to be brought to fruition. And so to bring my imagery to life, it takes someone where we have to have that match where they won't get frustrated with me, or you know what I'm saying, that they're like, okay, yeah, I can do that, and that's okay, because sometimes people are very, when it comes to your creative juices, people can be very territorial about that. And so they were like, okay, well, this is the way I see it. Yes, your story, but I see it to come forth like this. So you have to have that good marriage where it's like, yes, I give you control to do this because it's a work for hire, but I also see it like this. And can we have a marriage between what you see and what I also see to
Mhm.
bring it to life? And so that's what's going on with that. The law source is just about finished, but I need to have some additional things, those illustrations, to make it even more powerful than what it is, and to include COVID-19 as well. And like I said, I'm still shopping for the illustrator for Hopped on Pops. Yeah.
All right. Was there
Yeah.
anything else you want to share with us?
Um, just that I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this movement with Mocha Books. I
Most
see it as a
definitely.
movement, a positive movement, and I wish you well as you have something that is very important, a bookstore. That's bookstores are now becoming a rare event
Mm,
as we move to the digital age, and so that you have one and it's thriving and it's still flourishing, that in and of itself is amazing. And also that it is a store that is for us, by us, for us, and of course for others as well.
mm.
But we take the lead, and that's amazing. And so to be a part of that is amazing to me. I just want to tell everybody that just keep your eye out on Careless Collection.
Mhm.
Um, Author Valrie Kemp Davis is more to come. I thank you for even tuning in to watch this. I don't take anything for granted. Um, and you can reach me at ihadadream44@gmail.com. And my website is carradiscollection.com, spelled CARRADICE, collection without a S, one word.com. And you can find my books on Amazon, Booktopia, Book a Million, I'm sorry, Book a Million, Walmart.com, and I think it's indiebound.org, and eBay. Um, and I hope that you enjoy it. And I thank you for just giving me the opportunity today. It was my pleasure and a privilege to spend time with you, and to get the word out about my stories and what drives me and my characters.
I definitely
Oh, I do
love
have
hearing
one more
about
thing.
your story.
I do have one more thing. I forgot. I forget. Okay, so if I have I am into music as well. So with Jamaican Me Say Me ABCs, there is a companion song called I Love My ABC. I Love My ABC. It's by Zion. And it's under Tamo Music Productions. You can find it on iTunes and Spotify. It's only 99 cents for a download. And you can also, yes, and it's so girls got that reggae dance hall. It is, it is so bomb. And then we have a video. A video is on YouTube as well.
Oh,
So look
you have
for.
to send me that link, and I can,
I will. I
yeah, I
will.
can share it.
It's called I Love My ABCs. It was produced in by Tamil Music Production out of Birmingham, England. And my daughter was the videographer, along with one of my godson, who is a big cameraman in Jamaica, and he was for TVJ, Romaine Simpson. And it was amazing. And we had kids in the Augusttown area who were a part of that. Um, the young man that's in my video, the main character, he was in DJ Khaled's music video last year when he released his last album. He had Sizzler, and he had this little boy who had that shirt on that says Zion playing the guitar. That little boy is in my video.
Okay.
Um, Holy Mountain, I think that was the song. Holy Mountain, I think that was what it was called. Because he did a music video with Buju Banton and Sizzler. And so that little boy is in my video, Zion, with the dreadlocks, and he did an amazing job. And so part of it was filmed in Birmingham, England. Part of it was in Winter Park, because we have Kelly Ranks, who just released an album last year under Affinity Music, and he had Lauryn Hill and Cannabis and some of those people on his album. He was featured with Zion on my cut called I Love
Nice.
ABC. And they did an amazing job. And big up to my play brother, Blessed, that's his nickname, Errol Melbourne of Tamil Music Production. So how could I forget that?
No worries, no worries. You didn't forget.
Oh my goodness, I'm slipping. You see what I'm saying? Got a whole nother leg or something to out here to market and forgetting. Girl, that's where it happens when you get a little older. But anyway, it's called I Love My ABCs under Tamil Music Production, featuring Zion and Callie Ranks. And I'm in it. Yours truly is in it too. I make a cameo appearance and stuff. But it is so cute and clever. And if you love reggae music, you would definitely love this. I love my ABCs. So that's what I do.
Ooh,
Spotify
yes,
and iTunes.
definitely
Yeah.
need that link.
Yes, it's on the Google Play, iTunes, Deezer, and Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you that link when I get off of this amazing interview.
I have definitely enjoyed talking to you. I'm so sorry. Like,
Likewise.
it's been really, really crazy. I appreciate you working with me.
Likewise.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll be checking in with you.
Oh, please do. And if there's anything that I can do, please don't hesitate to tap into me. Whatever resources I have with authors in this Midwest area, definitely will push them your way. And, you know, I believe in collaboration and
Yes,
keep doing what you're doing because it's amazing. And
thank you.
again, shout out to Yolanda T. Marshall for putting me on to Mocha Bookstore, Mocha Book Reads. Yay! Out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you enjoy the rest of your day?
You do the same, and God bless you, and God
Thank
bless
you.
everyone, and you all take care and be safe in the season of pandemic and protests.
Yes,
God
ma'am.
bless. Yes,
Bye.
Bye.